Welcome to Greenlight, episode 22. I can barely talk. I sound awful. We're going to talk about why I sound awful. We're going to talk about the big NFL news, the surprise retirement that happened today, Stefanski. We're going to hit the Rooney Rule at some point in this pod. And I just want to go to bed. This is Greenlight After Dark. It is 9 p.m. I wasn't ready for this, but we got to do it. Content to be made. I might surprise retire from this pod.
I might surprise retire from this pod. Bro, I've gotten like 18 hours sleep the last 2 nights. How about you?
7.
Not
bad.
Better than I thought.
Yeah, but still, not optimal.
Nah.
Welcome to episode 22.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. This is the Emmitt Smith episode.
That's right.
We're grown-ups now, over 21. And this is Greenlight After Dark. This is the latest we've shot. My liver is limping over the finish line right now.
I'm high T Macon alongside low T Chris.
Yeah, we got to do something about this because I am...
How was New Orleans, pal?
New Orleans was great. For those of you listening, again, I am Chris Long, host of this Greenlight pod. And for the loyal listeners who also watch the live stream, this is Macon Gunter, real estate extraordinaire, live stream extraordinaire, and co-host of this podcast. He did not go to New Orleans. I went to New Orleans to watch the Tigers, all of them.
Did you hear a lot of this? Just dueling tiger rags.
Is that tiger rag?
Yeah, that's not. I can do much better. But it's late.
Somebody said that, and excuse my voice because, as I just mentioned off air, Macon bragged that he has gotten about how many hours of sleep the past 2 nights?
18.
Yeah, I've gotten 7 or so, and we'll get into that. But somebody joked that the winner of that game should get Death Valley and the mascot.
Well, Death Valley, I agree with.
It's just there's a lot going on that they seem to be kindred spirits, very geographically different. Also, Clemson and LSU fans seem to get along very well. I don't think I saw a single, altercation. And I was out on Bourbon Street last night until nearly 4 a.m. The first night I got there, I stayed out way too late. You know how, like, when you get to a trip, you have 2-3 nights to hang out with your buddies. I had to do some work and I had to make some content, but my boys were down there. Ryan's down there. Russillo's down there. Dan, Big Cat, PFT, Stanford Steve, a whole bunch of guys that you don't see a lot. So it was kind of like the boys are together. Let's hang out. We're not going to miss a night. We're going to go out to dinner at Desi's, which is a wonderful steakhouse. But that dinner turns into, midnight. And then it's like we make a pact to go out till 2 a.m. We're going to stay awake till 2 a.m. And then that turns into 4. And I always say the first night drinking is always worse than the second night. I don't know about you. You got to break through that wall.
I can only do the one.
You only do one.
Yeah.
When did you stop doing 2 in a row?
27.
27.
Yeah.
That's my problem. So that was 7 years ago for me. And I can still hang, but this is the result.
Yeah, you're usually our ringleader. I mean, were you down there? It sounds like you were being dragged a bit.
I was being dragged the first night. Ended up at a casino. I don't even gamble at casinos. I'm watching Big Cat play blackjack. Cutler was down there. Hadn't seen him in a while. Jay. Man, talk about a guy who's very happy. I think Cutler catches a lot of flack for his personality, and some people have issues with his decision-making on the field. I think he's living his best life in retirement. I don't think he even misses it. The guy looks like a movie star, well-dressed, happy, smiling. Also, one thing I like about Cutler is If you're going to be a jerk to drunk fans, just do it. Just say, no, I'm not taking a picture with you right now. I kind of respect that.
He was that guy.
No, he's like somebody stumbles up drunk and wants a picture and an autograph or whatever. He's just going to be like, I don't really do that. Which I think is okay. I always go out of my way to take the time, but secretly sometimes I want to be like him. And kudos to him for acting on that. I don't know where you stand on ethically answering people's cries for a picture, an autograph at 11, 12, 2 a.m. It can be a little bit cumbersome.
Well, it's also it's college football con, I guess Jay didn't have the most standout career at Vanderbilt, but you're around football fans. They're going to know who you are. They're going to want a piece of you.
You got to figure that. And I'm always like the opposite. Like, I'm afraid to piss anybody off or have anybody be like, that guy was an asshole. And by the way, on this pod, I'm not going to cuss.
Okay.
Asshole's about all you're going to get. No, asshole, but no F words and no S words. I'm going to get through the whole pod without doing it.
Okay.
I was thinking about that on my 10-hour ride or trip home today.
Did you drive?
No, I flew, and it was there was fog in New Orleans and then fog in Charlottesville.
I can attest to the fog in Seaville. We have visibility of about 10 feet outside.
It was brutal, and that's what I get listen, it was a business trip, yeah, making some content, but to go down there at 34, ambitiously, one night on Bourbon Street. The game, by the way, was terrific. But for me to do 2 nights in New Orleans, that's what I get. Lesson learned. Long flight home. My voice is gone. I was screaming the whole night. You just scream at people. They're right next to you. I did that for 2 nights. Also, the first night, I almost quit New Orleans. I was back in the room, 3 a.m., and I said to myself, like, what am I doing? I just want to be at home. Like, I could watch this game on the couch. Let me get on Kayak. I don't know if you ever get on Kayak.com.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'm going to book a ticket and like Irish goodbye this trip. Like, not even tell the guys. I'm just going to go to the airport after I do my appearance tomorrow and watch the game on Wi-Fi. Like, I was ready to do that at 3 a.m. Luckily, I rallied, and the second night was much, much better. The game, I never understood going to football games, like, personally, because the last 11 years, I don't really get to go to football games. Definitely not pro football games. Tried that with Packers Bears and my brother's game to open the season. I did not like it at all. That game last night, slightly different level of intensity, but it was amazing. I mean, I totally get it. And the atmosphere was like a home game for the Tigers.
What was the disparity in the stands?
I would say it was 60-40, which isn't terrible.
Not bad. Yeah.
Maybe 65-35. And I was sitting in the LSU section. And that's a pretty damn cool little thing they got going there in general. People are very passionate about that football team. And what's cool about seeing the game in person was you got to see everything on the back end. When I watch on TV, like where I could use some reps watching football now that I'm a fan is watching the back seven. And I don't feel like I really get to watch the back seven on TV. I'm always focused on the linemen. And being able to see all the route concepts, the coverages, and how those skill guys played last night, it was unbelievable. The whole first half, and I had, at the very last second, I loaded up on LSU.
Good idea.
Yeah, turned out to be. It was nerve-wracking. They were backed up on their goal line the entirety of the first quarter. But it was like the minute they got off it and they got a break. That free play they gave Trevor, second possession, I think it was, nearly killed him the first half. I mean, they were down 10 before you could even blink because they never got off their own end zone. But the rest of the game it just showed the way they outscored them down the stretch. They're historically good. I mean, you could argue along with maybe the Nebraska teams in the 90s who beat a bunch of top 10 teams by like an average score of 30 points, or the Miami teams, or you could go even further back. But LSU, do you think it's the best team ever?
Whew, that's lofty.
They're
But
gonna lose like 9 juniors.
and they also, the box score jumps out when it maybe didn't off the screen at least. I mean, Edwards-Helaire over 100,
Mm-hmm.
the receiver over 200,
Mm-hmm.
Chase Jefferson was over 100,
Yeah.
Burrow was Burrow, and it looks so easy.
It wasn't. What are you thinking right now?
How about 11 in orange?
11 in orange is a stud. I wanted to call him an effing stud, but I'm not cussing. He's just fun to watch. Like I said, when I went down to Charlotte and we were sitting there on the field for the ACC championship, he walked by me and I knew who he was, but at the moment, I had to reshift my understanding of who this guy is as a football player, because again, built like a outside backer, runs like a free safety, can cover, gets involved in the run game, can add. Like, he does everything. And he had the 11 number, and when he walked by me the first time, I knew exactly who it was, but I'm like, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like a DN, got a skill number, don't get it. Probably might be the best player on the field.
Looked like a New York Giant to me.
And we'll see how Burrow shakes out. Right now, gun to your head, is he going to live up to the hype or not?
I think he'll be good.
But not great?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he looks like.
Give me a comp then.
Better than Tannehill.
Better than new Tannehill?
Yeah.
Or Miami? Yeah.
No, better than new Tannehill.
I'm the big question for me is and again, Joe Brady, who we saw today, heading up to Carolina, how much of Joe Burrow's ascension in college football this year had to do with the skill players, Brady's influence, which is essentially Sean Payton's influence, as we were just talking about. And we'll find out. We'll find out if he can overcome likely playing in Cincinnati. I don't know if Taylor's the answer up there. I was texting with somebody today that was like, do you think he pulls an Eli Manning and says, not going to Cincinnati?
As an Ohio kid?
I think that's the only reason. If he was not an Ohio kid, I would feel awful for him. I'm really excited for him. I think I'm biting the cheese. I think he's going to turn that program around somehow. He's just got
Hall of Famer?
I don't know about that.
What about Andrew Luck?
That's a nice comp.
Okay.
And the thing I like about that comp is that Andrew Luck was a thrower first, but a great athlete.
Yeah.
And Burrow, the way he moves in the pocket, he's really, he's like high hipped, moves well with the ball in his hand. I mean, that's a skill that not everybody. You could be fast or athletic, but moving in the pocket is like is a second athleticism, and he has that. And some athletic quarterbacks don't move well in the pocket. I mean, within the pocket. So he makes plays to extend. I think Luck's a nice comp, and also the probably coolest college football player of all time.
That's such an interesting call. We got to be wary of recency bias.
I don't know, man. With that Stogie, and there's brilliant marketing by LSU.
And he just doesn't give
an F.
Nice.
He seems not to give an F. And I even dug into his tweets, like I did the old tweets thing, with my breath held.
Yeah.
All I found was a guy who's actually pretty good at Twitter and has been since like he was in high school, which is remarkable to me.
Well, he's smart as hell, like Andy Dufresne.
Looks like Andy Dufresne.
What else would you expect?
Listen, the guy's tweets. I mean, here's what I found. And I didn't want to do the thing where I retweeted his old tweets to invite people to do that, right?
Right.
Is that would be a bad move, right?
Right.
Even if you like the tweets, because it's inviting it. It's inevitable. People have already combed through them. The reason you haven't heard about it is because there was nothing bad. But there were tweets, multiple tweets standing up for NCAA athletes, asking for them to get paid. He owned Gottlieb. He was talking about Chris Collinsworth, color commentary, stuff we all do. He's doing this at 18, 19 years old. He's ahead of his time. Now, a couple tweets that I thought were controversial. He hates zoos with a passion.
Oh, on board.
You're on board with that, and I don't want to assume, but I assume you think the animals are better off elsewhere.
Right.
I would agree there, but there are some animals, when you read up on it, that are better off in zoos. Just standing up for
Zookeepers.
Also, I felt seen, and I'll read the tweet in quotes. This is exactly what he said. And I think this is the only red flag here in his entire draft stock picture. Birkenstocks are the worst thing ever created. I loved him until I read that. Also hates SEC announcers. That was a tweet from like 17.
Okay.
And then he had one really, really bad tweet. As a Cavalier basketball fan, please do not trade Wiggins.
Yeah, nah.
Good
trade.
That one didn't age well. That's the one tweet he wants back. But if that's your bad tweet, if that's your version of a Geronimo Allison tweet or a Josh Allen, tweet, like, you're not doing too bad.
Are you going to talk about neck on this podcast?
Neck?
Yeah.
Come again?
It's in your notes. It's a song the LSU band plays.
Oh, I don't want to. I'm not gonna fall. I'm not gonna fall into that trap.
I'm not really setting a trap. I just saw it in your notes.
One thing that I noticed was that, and I've heard this on TV, but it's louder in person.
Yeah.
When they tell you to put your mouth on the Tiger unit, comma, BITCH.
It's quite lewd.
It's very lewd. I mean, I'm not going to stick my nose up at that, but it was very vulgar. And people were passionate about it.
Yeah.
Think about the kids.
The children were probably chiming in.
The kids were like, Tigers have...
All right.
But it was an amazing experience. Like, that was one of those things that I rallied. I did not book my ticket on Kayak. I made it happen. I rallied for the second night. We had a great night. Drank 100 beers. And I saw a college football game that I'll always remember. Super cool experience. And there was something magical going on there. There were a lot of people on the sideline. Cowboy Reed mentioned this before going on. He hadn't seen so many celebrities or names at a college football game he thought ever. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, they did that college football 150.
150.
They had a bunch of the top 10 up there.
Very controversial right now.
It is?
Oh, yeah. People are not happy with it on the internet.
And yet Booger McFarland, I mean, doesn't get much bigger than Booger.
Boog was there.
Yeah, dude, he was out there for the coin toss.
Yep.
He might have been you two margs deep.
You think?
At that point.
Was he slurring?
I'm talking about you.
Oh, me?
Nah, he wasn't talking.
Oh, so what I had to do yesterday, by the way.
I went to Bed Bath & Beyond at a nice little Sunday.
So
we were gone.
What'd you get?
Shower liner.
Organizers?
Curtain, not an organizer.
I'm going to organize my shower today. I think I'll go to Bed Bath and get a bunch of...
Nah, there were some necessary purchases, but...
So I had to do the Ringer pod.
Dealing with FOMO, though, so I had to combat. Yeah,
you had to do something. Just keep moving.
Yep.
Just keep swimming. We had to do the Ringer pod. Me and Ryan had to do it, so we both were all out of bed, just like, let's do this pod. I'll meet you at the hotel. All right, so...
I don't think you have to alter your voice. It's how you sound right now.
Okay, that's true. So I get there, and he's got the setup, and we both just feel not unprepared, but when you've been watching the games, hanging out, it's not the same as sitting there with notes. We shot a solid pod. Didn't feel great about it. I always hate every pod I do. You hate it too.
Yep.
So I leave because I got to go to this appearance on the Louis Armstrong boat, which is very cool.
Nice. I like boats.
Yeah, it was the coolest boat I've ever been on.
Like ships?
Yeah. It's like a ship. And I'm 3 hours in, and I'm like 3 or 4 Clemson orange margs in. And Russillo calls. He goes, "Hey, buddy, what you up to?" And I'm like, "Nothing. Like, why are you calling? Something's up." He goes, "Oh, how would you feel about doing that podcast again?" And I was like, "Man, it was that bad, huh?" He's like, "Nah, that's not really it." I was like, "So what do you mean?" He goes, "We didn't get the audio."
Wild.
Over an hour of hard-hitting analysis from your boy and Double R. Had to do it again. Happy to do it again. But when I got in the room, I was like, I'm kind of almost drunk now. And I've kind of said this stuff already.
So, yeah, I've told you, I don't listen to that particular podcast.
Yeah.
Don't care for Ryen one bit.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Close friend, dear friend.
Dear friend, friend of the program.
Yeah.
There's no competition here.
2 S's, 2 L's. I listened.
Yeah.
To, I don't know what day it is. It's nearing Wednesday.
Yeah.
Here in Seaville,
Mm-hmm.
Chalk headquarters. I thought you sounded great.
Thank you.
Maybe the margs loosen you up a bit.
Oh, maybe. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there and you're kind of drunk already, and it's day 2 drunk, like where your faculties are kind of like, it's not the ideal time to do a pod, especially with the very critical Ringer bros that listen to the Ringer.
Apparently they needed a bit more of a critical Ringer producer down there in New Orleans.
Apparently something happened with the audio.
What if he had just said, hey, man, Chris, you weren't bringing it. Can we run it back?
I would have said I'd be happy to because I hated it.
Yeah.
And I would have probably been just as bad the second time. So I did 2 pods, did the little content with Big Cat, and it was great. I do want to do a quick positivity shout out. I want to start doing some positive stuff. One of my New Year's resolutions is to be less negative.
Okay.
How am I doing?
Fair.
Okay. That didn't seem real positive. But I want to shout out Jason Van Camp, Green Beret, decorated, great dude, natural born leader. Came up to Keuchly with me. He's got a book coming out. It's called Deliberate Discomfort. You can get it on Amazon. Actually, I read it because he was gracious enough to mention your boy in there. And I was like, I got to read it to see if I sound like a huge, I want to cuss right now. I want to see if I sound like a baby in the midst of all these like military heroes he's listing in the book.
And then there was this charitable jerk named Chris who played football.
Who was a wimp.
Yeah.
But actually he was great. I mean, for a guy to be Army football player, Green Beret, philanthropist, here was a guy that when I summited last time, I had to fall back behind because I was trying to get Haloti Nada up the mountain, which was the most challenging couple hours of my life. And our group kind of breaks off in different groups sometimes. And guys, you have to stagger the summits because some guys and girls could be amputees. They could be moving at a different pace. You got to get them up and down quicker. Some guys might be moving a little slower because they're 340 pounds. Like Haloti, heaviest man to ever summit. Probably the heaviest man at 20,000 feet ever in the history of mankind. I'm going to go out on a limb and say at that altitude, heaviest man of all time. Anyways, Jason and James King go up to the top. They summit. They're coming back down the mountain. They've been walking about 15, 20 minutes. When 15, 20 minutes at the top of that mountain is hell. And they turned around and summited twice with us because that's the type of guy that Jason Van Camp is, that James King is. And that should tell you everything about him. I mean, for him to be Army, football, Green Beret, do all the charitable stuff he does, and now be an author, congratulations to him. Go check out the book. He's a really bright guy and a good guy. Steve Gleason, again, I mentioned it. He's getting a congressional medal tomorrow in D.C. I'm really excited to go see him. So shout out to Steve Gleason. You deserve that and more, dude. Pearl Jam, tour and album coming out. 6-year hiatus. I know you don't care for Pearl Jam, or do you?
Pearl Jam's fine.
What's your favorite Pearl Jam song?
I'd be happy to tell you my favorite Pearl Jam song.
Can you do it in under 3 seconds?
Yes, I'd be happy to. My
1,
favorite
2, 3.
one is Daughter.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
What's your favorite part of that song?
The middle.
Yeah?
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Probably Immortality.
Okay.
Anyways, or Release. Release, Immortality. I've got a long list. It's really hard.
I'm sure you do.
I know. Sorry for liking music or being positive about anything. Please suck the energy right out of this podcast.
I'm sucking the energy out.
Also, Diego the Turtle. very important turtle, was brought from, he's a giant tortoise. I think he was brought from the Galapagos Islands
Oof.
to try to help save the species. He was
Oh, I
80
heard about
years ago.
this.
He's 100 years old. This dude made 800 turtles, offspring out the wazoo. He's like a benevolent Genghis Khan.
Mm.
I mean, think about Genghis Khan, many offspring, but also did a lot of negative things. This turtle, Diego, done nothing but positive. And they're going to bring him back to the islands now at 100 years old. So he can go off and make more offspring. Not interested in Diego the turtle?
When we were in high school
Yeah.
and we had to be awakened by
Yeah.
our parents,
Yeah.
Mare once woke me up with a box turtle she had found in the driveway.
Yeah.
She's like, wake up. And then right in my face was this turtle. And I have this weird sort of fear of turtle.
They do that slow neck
tortoise
extension
eye.
and like a snap.
Yeah.
Dr. Fax has had a snapping turtle from the James River for well over a decade.
In his possession?
Dr. Fax, Nate Collins, NFL player, also green light spot, or what do you call that? Moonlighter.
Spot relief guy.
Yeah, he's a relief pitcher. And Dr. Fax has a snapping turtle that we drunkenly took home on the river well over a decade ago, and that thing grew to be pretty big. He had to send it to his dad to take care of.
Mm.
Hey, Dad, I don't know what you'd rather get, your kid's dog because he doesn't have the time or energy, or a snapping turtle. Nobody wants a surprise dog. You definitely don't want a surprise snapping turtle. Where are you on the Odell fake money thing?
First question, is it fake?
So it looked very real to me on the field. And of course, for those of you listening, Odell came out on the field after the game, gave a couple players what looked like a bunch of C notes with cameras everywhere. Then they're claiming, LSU's claiming 8 hours later that it's fake money, which would beg the question, what was the point?
Yeah. Well, hey, pay the players. It is a nice stunt.
It's a nice stunt. I would hope that the players knew that they were getting paid before they got paid.
The NCAA compliance folks are no joke.
No, I know. So what I don't want to see we all know that the
vacated national title Clemson has won.
We all
2020.
We all know. I mean, I assume we align exactly the same on amateurism in college sports.
I don't know.
I mean, should we pay players? It's pretty simple.
Yes.
Okay. You hesitated.
It is it's a hesitant yes. We can get into another time.
We'll get
but
into
it's
another
yes.
time.
Yours is a yes?
Yes. And
Okay.
and to me, like, I don't know how we figure it out isn't really the question I'm asking. It's should guys be paid for putting on that show last night and making a bunch of people a bunch of money?
Right.
Not just the TV deals, all that. Like every city these guys play bowl games in, the hotels,
Yeah.
you know, the great city of Miami and the Orange Bowl, your favorite city?
Miami in quotation marks.
Miami Gardens,
Hollandale Beach, Hollywood,
else,
Florida.
Somebody else said that this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Swear to you. We were sitting at dinner, and I forget who it was. Maybe it was Steve. He was like, I don't know, man. Like, Miami, it's hard to figure out because you don't know if you're in Miami when you're in Miami.
It was probably just a listener to the pod. Steve would make sense.
So, Odell handing the guys fake money, evidently. I get the camera thing. I just hope he tipped them off because I'd hate it if one of them gets in. And I know they're done, so in essence, it's fine. But I hate if they became collateral damage to the stunt, which could be a stunt that might move the needle. I doubt it. The needle's not moving. It doesn't seem.
He's not be changing Dabo's mind.
No, Dabo.
With that stunt.
The funniest thing is I saw there was a meme that I retweeted, which people got mad about, of Dabo yelling at his players in a big circle, probably from the pregame, and it said, and this is after the game, that's why we don't pay y'all.
Yeah. Yep.
So poor Dabo slept on all year, only to go play a road game because I don't know how many times he pointed that out, and get their butts kicked by the real Tigers.
LSU is looking into whether Odell Beckham Jr. handed out novelty money to players.
Yeah, we'll see about that. The big news in football, and I've got a special guest coming up here in a little bit. John Phillips, longtime NFL stud and Virginia Cavalier, good buddy of, we call him friend of the program, right?
Oh yeah.
He'd never been here, but I'm going to sit down with him and talk to him about, he'd been on the Saints. I want to talk to him about Drew Brees. I want to talk to him about the hires in Dallas. He played in Dallas, and Antonio Gates was a big retirement today. He played with Antonio in San Diego for a long time, so he knows Phillip Rivers, Antonio Gates. The surprise retirement today, we just learned about it as we're firing up the pod, was Luke Keuchly.
Yep. Luke Keuchly, 28 years of age, 8 years in the NFL, 2012 NFL draft. Calls it a career just as we were going to tape.
So I think it's a concussion thing, definitely, right? We haven't read anything. We're talking about this blind.
And he put out a 3-minute video. We haven't listened to it. Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to be. I mean, the guy had a lot of scary impact hits over his career already. And there was one that he was visibly shaken coming off the field. And I don't know if that was like a concussive symptom. He was crying on the field. But when you see guys exhibiting those symptoms, I think nowadays you have no choice but to confront it head on, because the minute a guy gets dinged, at home, the camera goes to him. It's like when you watch the Baylor QB in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia.
Brewer.
It's not just, you don't just see on the bottom of the screen out with a concussion. You see what he looks like when he gets up. You see that it took minutes for him to get off the field. He looks confused, disoriented. His 4th concussion on the season, right? Or on the season or in his career.
Oh, golly, Chris. Had a bunch.
Yeah, he's had a bunch. Luke, the same way. You see those symptoms. It's scary. This is a bright guy, very bright guy. By all accounts, probably football for him, although he could have been one of the best to ever play the game at that position. And for a short bit there, in my opinion, he was one of the best players I've ever seen in my time in the league, and played the game the right way, but a ton of high-impact collisions. And look at Van Der Esch today, neck surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That's a career that might not go on a while the way he plays the game. It's a rough position, playing at that second level. The hits are scary. These DBs coming downhill, linebackers coming downhill. The collisions are different than offensive linemen and defensive linemen. And I can't blame him. He seems like football for him is just part of the puzzle. It's not everything.
ACC Defensive Player of the Year in 11 at Boston College. Defensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL in 2012. 2013, Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL, 7-time Pro Bowler.
Amazing resume, and a class dude. It reminds me on a much larger scale and a more surprising scale. I don't know what's more surprising, the Andrew Luck thing or this one. I think probably this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say Luck, but interestingly enough, same draft, 2012.
But the problem was with Andrew, there were all these injuries, and it had been a tough couple years.
I think more surprising, I guess, would be the timing of Andrews right before the season.
That was the surprising part. I wasn't even thinking about him retiring.
Yeah.
I don't know if people in Carolina knew it. I don't know if it had something to do with the changes and in coaching and saying this would be a good time to bow out.
Yeah.
And we'll get to who they hired as an offensive coordinator because he has to do with LSU. I mean, we're going to find out.
Can I read you some names in this draft?
Yep.
Luck went 1, RG3 went 2. You have Keuchly at 9 to Carolina, Stephon Gilmore at 10
to
the Buffalo Bills, Fletcher Cox at 12.
Mm-hmm. Michael Brockers at 16.
Brockers at 14.
14.
Boomtower, 25, Pats.
Good players. Really good players in that draft.
Jackrabbit, 39.
Jay Jenks lockdown.
To the Rams, Alshon at 45. A lot of guys who you've played with in this.
Yeah, and also that just goes to show you how old we are, because that class, you got guys retiring and looking old.
And
to me, I remember sitting at a bar in St. Louis watching that draft because I was seeing who we were going to take. We took Brock. I remember Fletch getting drafted. So time flies, and it's never a bad. It reminds me on a larger scale of Chris Borland. Chris Borland was a tremendous linebacker right out of the gate in San Francisco. Wisconsin guy, a very cerebral guy. Seemed like football was, again, part of the puzzle, not everything. So when he retired like 2-3 years in, this is a guy that I thought would play 10, 12 years. It was a shock. And he kind of was one of the first guys to say, I'm out. Now, Barry Sanders obviously being one, but explicitly talking about head trauma and health concerns, we're getting more and more guys who are saying, no more.
1 year for Chris Borland.
Yeah, one year.
Crazy.
And he was so good.
Played in 14 games.
He was so good right out of the gate.
Yep.
So it's a trend you got to monitor. I think nowadays, now the guys are getting more taken. When I talked to my dad about this, when he was a player, you had to grind for 12, 15 years to make your money. You know, he was defensive player of the year making $1 million. And for me, you know, high draft pick or any of these guys, you're set after your first contract. So for me to get my second contract, that's icing on the cake for me. It's big money again, but you're good. I could retire. I could have walked away if I wanted to. I don't know how I would be if this trend came 5-6 years earlier, because it was always in the back of my mind, like, maybe I should step away. Maybe it's not worth it. And then eventually you play too long and you're like, damage is done. What's three more years going to do? So kudos to anybody who has the balls to make this decision and go against the grain. In 5-10 years, this might be a lot more normal.
Yep. Well said.
I'm going to get into the hires today. I'm going to get into Stefanski, obviously the head coach of the Browns at this point, the 10th since 1999.
Boy.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Joe Brady a little bit more, and I feel like there was another hire. I'll get there. But I'm going to have JP on. I'm going to let you get home and get some rest. You're very gracious to come in here and
hey, man,
bring the energy.
Anything for you, but lights out for me at 10 p.
Yeah, so it's 9:34 p.m. We've got the boss hog, JP, in here. We've got big John Phillips in the chair here. John, that's a microphone. You just speak into it.
Yeah, I got that.
He's media ready. John Phillips, how many years in the league? 8, 9, 9?
10.
10.
10. You shortcut me, man. Come on.
Yeah, 10 was a big
10 was a big landmark for
milestone for you. And you started in Dallas.
I did. Drafted in Dallas, 2009.
Then you ended up in San Diego next.
Yeah, 4 in Dallas, and then I went to San Diego, 3 there.
And then New Orleans.
Well, I was in Denver for 8 games, and the last 8 games that year I was in New Orleans. Re-signed with New Orleans for another year, and then last year Arizona.
So your voice sounds great.
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, I wasn't up at 4 a.m. boozing last night, so.
Who said I was boozing? I did say I had 100 beers.
Yeah, I think you did.
So we lived at the Meat Mansion, which was a house full of 8 dudes. My senior year in Fry Springs, legendary place.
Great.
Mythical figure here, not just at UVA as a tight end. And for a while there, we were tight end U.
Yeah, we were churning them out. I mean, you had Heath, Estes, Tom Santee, Stupar played for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were really churning them out. Linebackers and tight ends were
That's
really
kind of
popular.
what we did. And
yeah,
offensive
really
linemen.
Yeah, I mean, grow that 5 years there, man. I felt like we were putting multiple guys, like handfuls of guys into the league consistently. I mean, I would rank us up those couple years with almost any team on the East Coast, really.
Yeah, it was like, listen, we were good. We were like an 8-9 win team when we could be. We were 7 win. No. Okay, so we won 9 games my senior year, right?
Yeah, we were 9-3, and then we lost the bowl, Texas Tech.
We won 5 the year before, 5 and 7 the year before, and 7 in the Music City Bowl year, which would have been your freshman year.
Yeah, that was my first year.
So we were a good team, but we weren't as good as probably our professional
100%.
Stock, because we did have some good pros. Make, you take care, bud.
Y'all take care.
Okay. So, and for any of you watching on YouTube, JP is wearing pants. They're just camouflage.
Absolutely. I mean, I watched the show, the show, and you're always in sweatpants.
So you do have a computer.
Yeah, but, you're always comfortable. And I'm sitting there, and this is like, I'm hanging out, put the kids to sleep. And I'm like, he's comfortable. I'm going to be comfortable.
Got to be comfortable, and this is a comfortable guy.
Yeah.
But I will say, when we were in school, we had better pros. I think Al Groh did a great job of taking what he knew about the pros and looking at it through that lens, and he knew how to recruit guys that would project very well to the next level, especially in the front seven, defensively and offensively on the line.
Yeah, he had a model, and that's what he wanted. And years later, you talk to him at weddings and on the phone,
and we do a lot.
Yeah, like he's more of like a mentor now, and you just find out like he had a specific type of player that he wanted. He always like big, tall, fast.
Oh yeah,
like,
he's
that's
a measurable guy,
yeah,
like an Al Davis.
Yeah, wanted all the tangibles, but he wanted to build an NFL style team. And he recruited me. That was his pitch. He was like, "You want to play in the NFL?
Right.
You want to play tight end in the NFL? You need to come to Virginia and play in a pro style offense." I mean, I remember going to Dallas, and as a rookie, we're installing the same offense that I ran for 4 years. I mean, it's
right.
a lot of the similar packages, a lot of the same like words, concept wise. I mean, and for a 16-year-old kid, you're like, hey, you're going to make a lot of money to play tight end in the NFL. Just come here.
Can you run a pro style? And I wonder about this now because I thought some of our schemes were so pro style it was hard. Like, and that was before the air raid stuff really took over.
Yeah.
So you get away with a little bit more. Can you still run a pro style, college program?
I mean, I think you can, but you have to be successful.
Right.
Because everybody wants the big scores now.
Right.
Everybody wants the big bombs, the big West Coast, let it fly, go. But, I mean, look at the Titans right now in the NFL. They're just matching up. Like, I think the speed of the game to match up with the air assault, like you're getting these smaller linebackers who can run. And if you can build a team that can put a fullback in there, big guys, and just go right at them heads up. I mean, some of these guys – you can run a 4-4, but can you take on a fullback in the hole?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean? It's almost like because it is a copycat league, some people get so down that road that if somebody breaks the mold and can do that effectively, what Derrick Henry's doing right now, and that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
There's only been a few big backs like that.
Yeah, true. But you have to be successful.
Yeah.
I think if you do it, because if you're not successful, you're going to get crushed in the media, on social media about – because it's
by the analytics crowd now,
it's not pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, getting 4 yards isn't pretty anymore.
Yeah.
Sustained drives is not something like it's not you're on your fantasy guys. They're going to like, what I mean?
Yeah.
When you build your team, inside out, meaning like your guards, like a really smart center, guys that can do all these combinations. But I mean, I think you can be very successful. I think if your run game is dominant, I think this is classic 101 football. If your run game is dominant, then your play action game is crazy. Like you get a fast guy that can hold up.
That's the only way the Vikings got where they got this year.
Yeah.
I mean, and the Stefanski thing came up, and we can get to that. But talking about trends, obviously tight end here, and more of a throwback tight end. You could block your ass off. Not everybody can do that anymore. In fact, other than Kittle,
Yeah, Kittle gets after it. I actually enjoy watching him play because he sticks his face in there. Like he's not just doing it to get through. Like he's legit trying to drive guys off the ball, like finish guys, laugh, shove. I mean, he's as a tight end who played the position. Like I actually enjoy watching him.
But the only reason he's allowed to do that is because he can catch the football the way he catches the football. Now, I even in my 11-year career, when I got there in the beginning, I would play like that guy in San Diego, that big guy with the long last name, Polynesian dude.
San Diego?
Well, yeah, he was in San Diego. He was before you. He was about
before me. Okay.
285, 300 pounds. Tight end. Algie Crumpler.
I gotcha.
Guys like that.
Yeah.
There were even Pettigrew. Like I remember guys like that. That was
in my class.
He was more. He could block.
Yeah.
He was long.
And he was a big guy too.
Big guy.
Big.
Like guys they're going away from that. So where do you see the next 5 and 10 years going offensively in general for that position? It seems like it's been maximally important from a passing standpoint, but these guys are basically wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's shifted, like especially in my career. It started shifting. You had those basketball guys, like we're going to talk about Gates and Gonzalez. You come with these basketball guys, and it's all of a sudden like these mismatches can be exploited. Like we can exploit defenses with these mismatches. Right. And in my career, it separated so much where it's like, hey, we need like a guy who can block in the run game, and then we just need a guy who can run.
Right.
And we'll just create these mismatches. And if he can just hold up a little bit in the run game, like kind of keep you play a little bit honest.
Just position block.
Yeah, just like position block, backside, then we can get you on a linebacker or we can get you on a safety, get matchups that we like, get guys in space. And I think you have these type of athletes that are coming out now, like bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, I played with the guy, Ladarius Green, who literally ran like a 4.4, but like a long strider. Like when he got his engine up and he got his stride down, I mean, he was gone. He was hard to catch. He caught like a basic against the Chiefs, and it's a house call.
Yeah.
2 safeties converge, and it's like, and that's, once again, that's kind of where it's going, that big play, that home run threat.
Now, you mentioned that there is a trend on the other side of the ball where I think slower trending, but real defensive ends are harder to find anymore. Guys that play both the run and the pass. Yeah. I think that's
Cam.
So as Jordan, Cam's one.
He's a beast. I think he's
Bosa's one now. Yeah. Both Bosa's.
Yeah, both Bosa's.
Now, and there's a number of guys we're forgetting, but those trends coinciding, I think it's going to allow tight ends to get away with it in the run game because, as you can see, and listen, Everson Griffin's no slouch in the run game, but it didn't look like either of those guys were real interested in playing a cutoff block Saturday it was, in San Francisco. They were getting big movement. Kittle was getting big movement on those guys. And you know as well as anybody, that 6 technique, that's easy. That's where you want the guy head up on a reach block, and you get the bump from
that zone scheme too.
The zone scheme.
That way you can double up to him. You got a bumper with your tackle coming with you. Like everybody's going in unison. You know, Sean Payton used to always be like ride the wave. You know, I mean, you have 1,000 pounds of bodies moving in this wave, and you just like a surfer. Think of a surfer. Let that running back get in there and then just ride the wave.
Right.
And you know, when you get in a 6 technique.
That's a disadvantage.
That's stealing for a tight end because I'm gonna take an outside footwork. When I hit that edge, my tackle is gonna engulf you.
Yeah.
And I'm on to the linebacker.
Well, all you need to do is, and it's not even so much. It's not the bump on the shoulder from the tackle. And for those of you listening, is when you're engaged with 6 technique. 6 technique is the head up defensive end. And I talked about this the last 2 pods. I thought that was a big mistake by Minnesota not getting their guys on the edges a little bit more. I know it's not what they do, but you know, play them in a tight 9. Let the support guy, you know, play that big C. Even if it gets a little big, I'd rather do that than get the end washed and 5 yards off the ball. Now, you look at tight ends changing. Okay, Kittle's an anomaly, but what does he do well when you see him blocking?
I think he's just aggressive. Like his initial strike, like he's very aggressive. He's low, plays with a good pad level. But, you know, blocking is a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Like blocking, you really got to, especially like these tight ends, you're talking about these pass catching tight ends, like a lot of it is you don't want to break your hand or get hurt. Like I remember talking to guys that like, I just don't want to break a finger in there. But he throws his face in there. Like he's got good footwork, but he really explodes off the ball. He's low. And he just gets into your chest.
His hand
like he just
really good.
Yes, I'm saying he gets into your chest and he like runs his feet really well. Like, you know, a lot of guys that can explode off and get tossed. You got these guys can kind of miss, but he's such a good athlete that he can explode off. And,
he's in balance.
Yeah, the counter guys like the Von Millers of the world are just straight counter punchers. I remember when I used to play him, I'm like, he's so quick, but he's really just wanting to counter off your leverage. He's wanting you to lunge, get you a little off so he can go around.
And the minute we take that, we'd call it a club. Or it would be a crash. We had an option in Philly where it's basically, it is up to you. Now, sometimes they'd sell it as, hey, it's up to you. Take that inside move on tight end on an out block anytime you want. But then if you got gashed, if you got gashed, no, it was like no repercussions. Just do it decisively, and a support player will play off you. And then you get gashed, and he'd be like, oh, well, you got to tell the support player. So, you know, and by the way, I think support players who are 5 yards off the ball should be good enough at football to be able to adjust to your movement if you're decisive. But what you're speaking of is totally true. Taking that crash or you know, making a tight end whiff once early in the game takes a lot of lead out of his pencil, and he's not going to be. But Kittle is never out of balance. So I don't think you can crash him. I haven't seen him, you know, land on his face because he gets swam inside, but maybe once all year. So
I think he does a pretty good job. I
Yeah.
love your point because I played in Denver for that half a year, and I remember talking with Vaughn, and I used to be like, you're annoying to play with because he does that inside move.
Yep.
You're doing an outside zone to him. You're supposed to wide him like you're in a 9 technique. You
Yeah.
have contain. And he just looked at me just straight stone cold and was like, they pay me to get sacks and tackles for losses.
Yep.
He's like, if I go inside and y'all gash me for 20, nobody's saying anything. They're saying go make plays.
Depends on your contract.
Like
though.
exactly. Like big players like have that leeway. And for a guy like me who's really technical, they're annoying. Like, you go play the Steelers, they're gonna be in contain. You do outside footwork, they're gonna do outside footwork. You're gonna widen them. Like so those guys they're always fun. It's kind of a challenge. I always like playing Vaughn because he does so much stuff well. But
who was
that's
the
what he
biggest
said.
nightmare?
I'm gonna tell you what, the guy I always say is DeMarcus, a good friend of mine, DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah.
And I played with him 4 years in Dallas, and the battles I had with this guy in practice that nobody will ever see when it's like inside run and I'm the young guy like just trying to earn my stripes.
Yeah, which
and I'm
which
just
can be
going
annoying
hard
for the older guy.
Yeah, and I'm going at him hard, and it's pass rush time, and they're putting a tight end with like one of the best pass rushers of the game. Like he's just so explosive, like so strong, so explosive, like
And long.
good hands. I mean, I remember him doing single leg squats with like 315, and it looked like it was
That's
like
stupid.
the bar. And it's
That's
just
so
like
stupid.
it's just dumb with the bar, like in that Smith machine. You know
Yeah,
what I'm talking about,
stupid.
where it's kind of sitting there.
It's ridiculous.
But he was so good, and I just have so much respect. And like I said, that's a lot of me playing against him in practice for 4 years. I mean, just a nightmare.
And I heard those Dallas practices are tough.
Oh, they were grinders. Now Wade was good. I mean, Wade, back end of his deal, Wade was a player's coach. He really took care of you. But when Jason got in there, Jason was real physicality, inside run is live. You're in pads. You're
Do you
beating
think
it
they
up.
ever got worn down? Do you think there was ever an element to that team
I
where
think certain
they were
players
getting
need
grinded
it.
too
But
hard?
I think it made certain players really good. Like I remember when Tyron got there, he's a left tackle. He's the young kid. Like they would bring in pass rushers just to wear him out. Like they would bring in guys off the street. Like you just got to give this guy a speed guy. And then they'd bring a guy off the street that was physical or strong just to make him kind of the player he is. And I think that's really good for young players. The counter side of that is when you have some older guys on your team and you're still just beating them up and they've got all these games on their bodies, shoulders, knees. I mean, it can be tiring for guys. I understand the philosophy. Like I understand the philosophy of like, you need the physicality. Like we want to be the more physical team, kind of our DNA, our identity.
Like
but it's kind of like as I got older too, I'm just like, man, those are some grinders. Even the drills. Like, I always talk about people with like our wrists. We used to do ball carrying drills with D linemen with clubs, like punching our wrists. I'm like, that was some unnecessary punches on the wrist.
Yeah.
Like every Friday.
And the older you get, the more you're like, I know what it's doing, but I could go sit over there during this drill.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is coaches, and you saw the Joe Judge press conference the other day, he says pads, he says live tackling.
Yeah.
And you lead with that in the press conference. If I'm an older guy over 30 and I like Joe Judge, I'm sitting there at home like, darn, like I have to deal with this guy. Like that's what it's going to be about. But I will say, to a coach's credit, it's hard to tailor a practice plan to everybody on the field.
I'll tell you what, I really like, once again.
You can't treat because the 32-year-olds are going to have one attitude about a drill. 23-year-olds, it doesn't matter what you think. You're 23.
I'll tell you what, I got to refer to Sean again, Sean Payton on this. And he would be in camp, and New Orleans camps are just,
I heard they're
awful.
brutal.
You're outside. Like, you can't underestimate the humidity. Like, in the middle of summer in New Orleans, like, they're awful. And they're grinders. But Sean will get up in the meetings and be like, young guys, like, y'all got to go.
Yeah.
Like, I got to see it every day from you guys.
Yeah.
He's like, you older guys, you guys pushing 30, like, I don't got to see it every day.
I see it.
But when I got to see it, like, and he would let you know, he'd be like, today I need to see it.
Yeah.
He'd be like, guess what, guys? We're going to do 2, these drills. We're going to do 2 of these live periods. He's like, I need to see it. You older guys, I got to see it today. Like, you don't have to show it to me every day.
Right.
Like, But if I got to see it eventually, and I got to see it multiple times in camp. I'll give you some heads up. Young guys, y'all don't have a choice. Y'all got to go.
So, when I was a free agent once or twice, I used to take the Saints, not off my list, but just because I heard the camps were, and here I am coming off 2 injury-riddled years. I'm like, the last thing I need is to go down there in the bayou and just get.
It's hot, man. It's when you we even would do the
milligrams of CTE every day.
We would do the walkthroughs like in the indoor, and you would just walk out to start practice, and the sweat, you just immediate back sweat. You know what I mean? It's just
there's nothing.
It's
worse.
just swampy, your whole body's swampy. And I mean, I'm one of those guys. I really did love football.
I thought you were going to say I'm one of those guys that doesn't shower.
No, oh gosh, heck no. You couldn't stand me in a meeting, but I literally love the grind, and I think it's a necessity, especially for a little bit of camp. But there's no doubt when you get older, I mean, it was some intense practice.
Buddy, you should have seen me when I was 33, 34. You would have been proud of me, because I was not interested in doing the. Now, in camp, I'm all about the first 2 weeks. I got to prove myself every year, and I'm gonna be competitive. You can't put me out in the team period without me being competitive.
Yeah, we were also in different deals. I mean, I was more of a special teams, do what I'm told, and that's kind of my MO. It's I'm gonna work. I'm gonna drive the whole unit. I think that's part of the reason, they got me into Arizona last year. Is hey, when I come in, I'm working. I really believe you get in shape in practice. You run your routes hard. You really grind, you really do it. And I really do love it. I mean, I loved everything about the game. I love the practices. I actually really did enjoy the hard practices because they are hard. And when you got done with them, you really did something.
You feel accomplished.
Yeah, when you got done with the practice, camp. It's man, that was a grinder. You're sitting around with your boys in your locker. You'd be with your D-line. Or, I'd be with the tight ends, be boys, that was a doozy.
So did you like early practices in camp?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
See, I'm cool with that, but don't make it before 8 a.m.
Yeah, I like getting out there
to shake
9.
off the cobwebs in the morning.
But you also understand the later the day gets,
the hotter
it gets.
So
man.
Was there a story down there in where would they have camp in Metairie or?
Yeah, right there at the facility.
Or the Greenbrier, which
I wasn't there then, but that was close to my home.
So
close to hometown.
Two-part question. I'll start with this. Was there one anecdote that you could share with me about camp in New Orleans to illustrate how hot and, just brutal it was?
I mean, off the top of my head this was before I got there, but they tell a story. Drew tells a story of the conditioning test. Most teams do a conditioning test the first day of camp.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean does a lot of different. It's a lot of CrossFit. He's a big CrossFit guy. Push the sled and then finish it with, push-ups. All these different variations, and obviously 4 cycles, 4 quarters, typical NFL thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they were the year before I got there, they did this CrossFit thing outside. I think, and they sent 3 guys to the hospital.
No,
they had some heat strokes. They sent a couple guys to the hospital. They're people were literally just. Not literally dying, but they were just dropping, and they were just maybe this is a little bit much for day one in the heat in New Orleans. I'm man.
Listen, you remember Beelan, right?
Oh yeah,
and that's our boy
at
Virginia. But I remember we were practicing down in the hole, and if you're a football player, the lower the altitude at your practice field, the worse it's going to be.
Yeah.
So a lot of these fields are dug in Earth City, Missouri, where I practiced, and that wasn't New Orleans, but it was rough. I mean, it was north of 100 a lot of days. And when you hear the trainers carrying that little yellow thing around with the heat index on it, and they say 120 or 125, or you're is this safe? At Virginia, though, we used to do Oklahoma drills, and college practices are brutal. College camps, you look back and you say, my body right now, I could not do it. Physically, I could not do it. And you did them for a month straight, and they were 2 days every day.
That was different.
Al Groh ran camp.
Yeah, the 2 days. Full pads, 2 days.
You only had 1 year of the old CBA? In the NFL? Two.
Had 2 of the camps where it was full pads, and then they did the new one. And
our careers, we were kind of lucky, but we also got the foundation where we saw what it was like to have 2 days in the pros. But in college, it was brutal. And one day, one of our coaches was down there yelling at somebody who was doing a full body cramp, laying on the ground. When you see a guy in a full body cramp, You know the story, right?
Yeah, I love the story.
So,
I love the story.
So it's 105 degrees. We're in the hole doing Oklahoma drills. This is probably the 10th iteration of the Oklahoma drill. Like after a while, it was like I was numb to doing Oklahoma. We used to do a drill called two-spot, which was just Algro would start every practice with two-spot. It was two dudes in stances, whistle, boom, like just
every position.
Every
like
position.
Receiver, DB, offensive lineman, D lineman, tight end, linebacker. Like
it could be hot. It could be not week 17. It could be week 10. It could be training camp. You're starting with that drill, and you do it over and over again. Anyways, we're doing, Oklahoma. Dude, of course, full body cramp. And if you've seen a guy deal with a full body cramp, there's nothing he can do about it. Because what happens is it starts in your calf. Then you reach down for your calf and your tricep goes, and then you're sideways, and then your oblique goes because you're twisted aside, and then you're on the ground and you can't move. And it's the scariest thing. I've seen guys on planes get full body cramps.
It's scary when you're in the moment, but I just can't help but laugh because I've seen so many of them. Like,
but it's
after
funny because you know they're going to be okay.
Yeah, in the moment, you're like, oh gosh, we got to get some Gatorade, something. But when you look back on it, like I see all these images, like you said, of guys on planes, like. They kind of get out of the they get out of their seat. It's like a hammy, and you're like, oh gosh. And then all of a sudden it's like rigor mortis kicked in and they drop. And
then
they're running ice to them.
Like, they're in the exit row, like laying flat. And people are like, the trainers are running up. And anyway, so the guy, one of our D tackles is on the ground writhing in pain. He's what's the word? Gyrating. And he looks like a sizzling bacon, like he's just cooking on the field.
And Beelan's crushing him.
And Beelan runs over and he's
no
like,
mercy.
Hey, son, what are you doing, son? Get up, that's soft. And next thing you know, I see Beelan's trap. And Beelan twists his shoulder, and I'm like, oh no, is Beelan's shoulder cramping? Is his trap? And then it's his neck, and then it's his low back, and then Beelan's got a hamstring cramp, and then Beelan's on the ground sizzling bacon right next to the player that he was just yelling at. So you got two dudes 25 years apart in age. One's a coach, one's a player, but at that moment, they were on the same level, and that was on the field. Hey, the funniest part of that whole story was not watching them writhe in pain next to each other and the irony of it all. It was when I walked in the training room, they were on the table right next to each other hooked up to IV bags. And it all started because a coach was yelling at a player for having a full body cramp.
And was calling him soft. Like, you're so soft. Like, you're so weak.
Like, I'm sorry, there's nothing.
Like, you're so weak. It's
there's nothing I can do about it. My body has said enough. When God created human beings or evolution took over, whatever you believe, we skipped a step. It's like the Industrial Revolution. We went from 0 to 100 with pro football. Yeah. Like cavemen were not supposed to do this. There was nothing. This is not natural. My body has said, no, I'm not doing it. It's too hot out here.
You push your body that much, and it's the force coming back at you, too.
Yes.
I mean, you're pushing, these guys are 300-pounders going right at each other. It's just, something's got to give.
And the older you get, you're in camp, you wake up, you go outside, and all of a sudden, you're usually staying in a hotel. So you go outside, and usually you go in through the back entrance because you don't want to go, players don't go through the front, so you don't have to mingle with regular people because God forbid we talk to normal people. We got to just talk to each other for 3 weeks and stay at the Sheraton and go out through the back exit to this private parking lot, wherever you played. I guarantee you we all had this experience. You walk out, the first thing that hits you in the morning during training camp is you breathe the 105 air in. Yeah. It hits you like a wet, hot blanket, and then you smell basically burning garbage because the back door to the hotel that players go through is always next to the garbage.
That's like very insightful, but that's so true. It's always right next to like trash, and it's like the night before they have it all dishes piled up.
You got your own
and you
elevator,
come through,
right? Because we gotta be sequestered.
That's pretty good.
And then you walk out, wet blanket, heat stroke. You're sweating immediately, like you said. Oh, yeah. And then you're like, oh, this garbage smells terrible, but it's not going to smell as bad as
we're going to smell.
We're going to smell.
We're going to smell awful here in a little bit.
And so that's training camp, and on New Orleans though. There's a couple things floating in the air. You know Drew Brees really well. Tell me one thing that makes him great, or an anecdote that illustrates why he's great.
I mean, I think he's a technician. I mean, I think he's so precise and he's so well prepared. I mean, like all the great quarterbacks, he lives in the film room, lives to break stuff down. But the way he goes through a practice is so methodical,
Yeah.
like to his steps. Like when you see him in walkthroughs, it's he's kind of twitchy. He's kind of like jerky twitchy, but I mean, he'll literally go through a walkthrough rep in the hotel where he's taking his drop, and in his mind, he's either like, I'm throwing here, and then I'm coming here, and if it's cover 3, I'm going over here, and he'll like pump fake and like kind of point to you like, I'm coming here, I'm coming to you next. He's like, cover 2, I'm coming here, I'm coming, like, and he'll go through it so methodically. And I think when you watch him play, he gets this this feel and this understanding with his receivers, and they do it in practice, and he gets these throws down. You see it in the game where it looks like he's looking over the lineman. I think he throws some things blind.
Yeah.
I think he throws things blind, but he's so good and has done it in his mind
Yeah, he's
so
just
many
gonna
times.
turn, and he knows it's there. It's
He
like
knows,
he knows
and he
where
kind
the
of sees
receiver's
it,
gonna-
and he throws it, and the ball is there, and it's unbelievable to see when he can just cut it loose and the ball goes. I mean, he's just, like I said, he's really a technician when it comes to how he prepares and how he goes through his steps in practice.
But a lot of guys in the NFL that are that branded, and he's very branded. Now, don't think I'm going somewhere I'm not. I love Drew Brees. He's very cognizant of his brand. He's very positive. He's doing the pump-up speeches. He doesn't cuss.
Yeah.
But I think what you see is what you get with him. He's actually the genuine article.
Genuine.
Where some guys, I'm like, it's kind of, I know you. Like,
yeah, it's not fake. It's not fake hype, and he got away with some of the pregame talks, but it's a lot of just his energy, like ready to let's go to battle. Like, let's get together. Like, this is what we prepared for. Let's go. He's probably harder on himself than anybody. I mean, some of these, like, he misses a couple throws, and you might get the helmet slammed down, or like some 4-letter words, like mad at himself.
Yeah. So he does cuss. Confirmed.
Yeah, he does cuss.
Now, Phil Rivers,
does not.
I contend that he wants it. I'm not cussing for this whole pod. It's an experiment, but so I'll take a break. One time I heard him say bitch. I don't know if that counts.
I don't know if I mean, I've never heard it. I mean, I was with him for 3 years. I mean, we even had a softball league together where we're fired up. I mean, he wore like a mullet coming out playing shortstop on an old men's league softball team. We're just grinding.
And you
out
did
there.
say that he is. And let's take it one team at a time. So you got the Saints. You've got Brees, who's a meticulous technician.
Yeah.
He's a perfectionist.
Perfectionist.
And I say that
That's
he's
good.
genuine because I saw Reggie Bush take a video of him when Reggie was doing a game. It was before he went to break the record. And you saw.
That's
like,
him.
This is why he's great.
That's him.
And most people, they'd be like, oh, it's so staged. Like, he knows
It's not.
the media. It's not.
It's
That's
not.
what he does.
On
a Friday
video,
after
like I saw,
walkthrough, an
yeah,
hour
I saw
after
that. I
walkthrough.
saw that video, and like the way he was like taking his drops and going through his progressions. That's how he is in all walkthroughs.
So-
that's how he is like all the time. Like I'm telling you, like the hotel, you go through the openers. Like everybody starts with like a 15-play script or something, and it's basically you want to get the defense's coverage in. Well, you always go through these openers in the hotel room. He's in the hotel room, like going through each of his progressions. Like, this is where I'm going with the ball, and this is how I'm getting to you. And you kind of know, coverage-wise, this is what you're looking at.
And so I guess I'm wondering then, knowing how much he puts into football, he's got a beautiful family. I'm sure he's got a ton of passions outside of it. How much longer does he have, and what the hell is he going to do when he gets done?
Yeah, I mean, he's got those 3 boys that are just wild. I mean, they are full of energy, man. I mean, I don't know if you ever, like, after the games, or what was he like in the the Pro Bowl a couple years ago? He was like trying to do an interview, and his boys are like on the field, like wrestling, and he's like, he kind of gets mad. He's like, guys, like, the game is going on.
Right.
I'm sure he'll be coaching. He'll probably be out in California, like Delmar. I think he's got a spot out there. He
so he'll move back to Cali, you think?
Probably. I think he spends a lot of off season there. I think they enjoy it there. I mean, the weather, the schools are pretty good, but he's ingrained. Like when the season comes, like you're invested.
Yeah.
Like I remember we had a sleep specialist come in. Like we brought in a sleep specialist to help guys like understand sleep, and you do like kind of like a counselor to help young guys, but really like informative stuff. And he was like so intrigued by her and was always meeting her like, how much sleep do I really need? Because she was like big on like this REM sleep or whatever, REM sleep or something.
REM.
Something, I don't know what it was. It's but like the first 4 hours you need to function.
Yes.
And then like the next 4 hours is like where your brain compartmentalizes what you like learn throughout the day.
Yep.
And he's like a kid studying like, how much do I really need? How can I get to
maximize
how can I get to this stage? And I don't know all the right names for him. Right. How can I get to this stage? Well, what if I took a nap here and like, so he's like pushing for time to get all the stuff that he wants to get in.
He's the perfect marriage of obviously ability and smarts, but also it seems like, and there's guys like this in the building, and we all know them because in pro football, a ton of resources are going to be made available to adult men. It's not like college where you have to go see a sleep specialist or a nutritionist or a sports psychologist. Like teams have. He seems like a guy who would take advantage of all of them.
Y'all, 100%.
Because he wants to leave no stone unturned. So the question I would ask,
any advantage he can get.
Do you think that he's going to be the type that will be able to know, and I don't think he's there by any stretch of the imagination. He looked great in stretches this year. I also think that his arm being fresh at the end of the year due to the injury to the thumb helped him down the stretch. So I think next year will be more telling than this year to see where he's at. Do you think he's going to be a type that can say, this is the time I get out, or do you think he's going to be the type that just is going to ride it till the wheels fall off?
I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, and I know he always sits back and tries to weigh, the family, his boys, like where they're at.
Yeah.
And I mean, clearly he's doing it for strictly the love of the game. I mean, it's clearly not for the money or, he's chasing another Super Bowl. I mean, I clearly think he's just dying to get another Super Bowl. And
it's almost like you win it early. You're like, it's almost like you didn't win it at all. You might feel like if you're that competitive and it's been a decade.
And just me kind of playing with him and kind of looking at him, I feel like he's always had like, undersized, like, the whole thing in San Diego. And, it's just like, I feel like he's just trying to prove everybody, like, I'm going to throw for 400 yards on everybody. Like, and he just goes about it that way.
I think
it's just the underdog kind of thing.
Did it come from the San Diego situation where he felt like they kind of passed?
Well, that came out, didn't it? Some like article of the coach was like, it'd be the worst mistake he ever made. Like,
now there's that, and
stuff,
I believe that. I believe that. I don't know if you think it sounds like him or not.
I mean, I can see that. I mean, he's fiery. Like going to is like Purdue, like not like a big, huge school, I guess. I mean, I just feel like he's always trying to always trying to prove his worth, like always trying to come out and get you, like really wants to, like legitimately wants to go out and beat you, like into the dirt, like beat you in the ground. Like I remember when I first got there, it's funny coming from Denver where our defense was phenomenal and offense, we're just letting like hold the ball, like get field goals. And I get down to New Orleans, and at that time our defense wasn't that great, but he's like, we're scoring every time we touch the ball. Yeah. He's like, I don't ever want to punt.
Yeah.
And like very serious, like, no, when we touch the ball, we're scoring. And we're scoring touchdowns.
That's the expectation.
He's like, I'm scoring touchdowns. Like, I'm going to cut you up, like methodically go through and figure out what you're doing, how you're trying to beat me, and I'm going to hit you with some home runs. And I think that's Sean too. Sean's one of the best minds in the game.
So going from, and you've played with a lot of good quarterbacks. I mean, you played with Tony Romo.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is about to make bank playing.
Oh my gosh. They said like 10, 14 million.
Are you surprised at how good he is at his job?
You know what? I'm happy. I'm happy
tremendous.
For him. Yeah, I think he does a good job. I think he's like colorful, like kind of makes fun of himself a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
You know what I mean? Like it's good, and I'm really happy for him. The quarterback of the Cowboys is that pressure right there in itself is just kind of ridiculous.
It's funny. He doesn't have the Monday night job. Booger has that job, and people feel how they feel about Booger. But I think what's interesting is he goes from Dallas quarterback to the color commentator on one of the most popular networks and the most popular sport in the world. And it's so easy to sit at home and crap on coordinators.
Yeah.
Or not coordinators, commentators. It's easy to crap on the coordinators too. He went from the job that everybody says they'd want, but probably is the hardest job in the world, which is the Cowboys quarterback, to talking about football in front of millions of people every Sunday. And those are pressure-packed jobs.
Yeah, but like I said, I think he's doing a good job.
Does
I'm out
he,
of it.
no, I think he's great. I think he's the best. Is he pretty cool under pressure? Was that kind of his thing?
that was kind of. I mean, it was kind of understood. I think he really understood the situation he was in Dallas.
Yeah.
As in, like, there's so much media in Dallas, and they have to fill up the slots, and there's nothing better than building this guy up so he can have a bad game to tear him down.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just waiting for that slip up to tear him down. But good news is everybody likes that comeback game to build him back up. And it's just this huge, like, roller coaster of emotions.
Any of these big market teams.
Yeah, and it's just like it's like they always say, it's like you're the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they always, like, when we were there, it's like, you know, the New York Yankees, Manchester United, the Dallas Cowboys, like big franchises, like worldwide franchises. And it's like, it's hot. You have generational fans, people who are fans, like great grandparents or like diehard fans, and people feed into it. Like, the media is just on you for every little thing. And when you're the quarterback, it's the top spot. You got all the pressure.
But there's the upside though, too.
Oh, it's great to, let me tell you, if you're winning in Dallas.
I think you loved it.
Yeah,
there.
when you have a star on your helmet and you're in Dallas and you're winning, life's pretty good, man. It's pretty nice.
You can hunt wherever you want to.
Yeah, you go hunting. I'm a big hunter. Like, you get all these ranches letting you come down, but the restaurants are nicer. Like, people want you in there.
Yeah.
Like, people want to be around you.
Yeah.
Like I was drafted there, so I was a young 20-year-old there. It was pretty nice.
Yeah.
And of course, hunting. Come on, man.
Charlottesville.
I'm wearing camo pants, mossy oak.
Yeah, you
like, you know what I mean?
walked
Like,
right out of the woods. Was there one Cowboy, and there's a ton of personalities, I might have a feeling who you might say, but that was the most misunderstood?
Ooh, misunderstood? Who are you thinking I was going to say?
Well, I'll let you think about it.
I want you to tell me who you thought I was going to say.
I think you were going to say Dez.
Misunderstood? I listen, I'll tell you what. Dez actually is a grinder.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know how people perceive Dez, like, with the media.
Perception is he's a wide receiver diva, and it's not true.
Yeah.
He's actually a tough-ass football player that was super competitive.
I think Dez needs good people around him so he can't scatterbrain and go in different directions. But when he's playing football, like, he loves the game. I remember when he was a rookie, like, he hated to be tackled. Not in the sense where he hated the contact. He didn't think people could tackle him. He literally, in his mind, practice game was like, y'all are going to have to bring 3 or 4 people over here to get me down. And we used to be on special teams, be like, eventually, man, on special teams, you got to go down. Like, I think he tore his ankle up doing that.
Right.
He would, like, wrapped up, and he'd still be spinning and twisting and contorting. I'm like, you're going to get hurt, man. I was like, eventually, it's like they got you, especially on teams when guys are getting a 60-yard deal. But he just wanted the ball. He always wanted to play catch. Like, I like Dez. I was always throwing to him. Little known fact is we had some quarterback issues, and I was like the emergency quarterback. You know, every time he's got like emergency, like a receiver, like emergency, like worst case.
The Eagles could have used you.
Yeah, like worst case. So I used to throw slants to him after practice on Fridays that one year. And like, he was the greatest guy. He's like, oh, I love it. He's like, JP, we get in there, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill him on the slant, man. I'm going to kill him. I'm like, Dez, dude, I love you, bro.
But
Just
you
keep being
you
man.
guys were cool. That's why I had a feeling, because, you know, I think people think of Dez as this big issue because America's team playing the position where you do have a lot of divas, big personalities. But for me, I always looked at it like, I'd rather have to reel somebody's passion back in than make them care about busting their ass on the field. And his problem was never effort. But I think some people, you look at it.
He gave great effort. He worked hard. He could really catch the football. Like, in his young career, he would, like, the passion thing, he would, like, get in arguments with, like, the opposing coach, like, or like, just like,
Sean
I want to crush you up.
Sean Payton gets an argument.
Oh, he gets fired up too. But we used to have to, like, rein him in. Like, I just always remember, like, Dez, like, stop wasting energy telling this guy you're going to beat him. Just go beat him.
Yeah.
And don't waste your energy now. Like, it's a long game. But fire it up, man. Like, he could really catch the football. I really like I said, I think he needs a good structure in place for him to keep him, like, it's just everybody gets there. You have bad influences in your life. And I think he just needs a good structure to keep him kind of focused. But once he's there, I mean, he's
so who was there somebody that used to catch a lot of unnecessary flack and you thought was?
I mean, there's so many guys that I feel like I feel like the question was guys that are like misunderstood. I'm not sure exactly the.
Well,
the way
Marty was very misunderstood. You played with Martellus
Yeah.
Bennett.
Marty had.
Marty might be misunderstood, but also perfectly understood at the
Marty's-
same time.
I feel like Marty's got a lot of different avenues, a lot of different personalities that he taps into.
He sure does.
But like 6'6", 280
Could have
pounds.
played tackle. Could have played tight end.
Used to play
could've-
basketball with him all the time, doing 360 dunks. I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah, that's not right.
That's not
I don't
right.
have that in the tank.
Yeah.
So you played in Dallas, and then you played in San Diego. And this is when I first called you today. I said, you want to hop on the show? You see who retired? Your buddy, Antonio Gates.
That's him.
What sums him up? And, his 16-year Hall of Fame career, all that stuff. But the personality, because I don't feel like anybody knows him.
Oh, he's a great dude. I mean, football-wise, I was talking to you today, football-wise, his ability to stop and start, I feel like what made him so great. That and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
Because them two were like two kids in the backyard playing ball. And he had that leeway we're talking about, like with linebackers. He had that leeway to, like, when I have you beat, you're beat.
Yeah.
Whether that's at 5 yards or 12 yards. Like when I run a corner route, I'm breaking it at 10 yards. Give or take a yard. That's where I'm breaking.
Yeah.
If that's what the sheet says, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Antonio's like, I'm going to play basketball, and I'm going to find your leverage. And when I beat you, then I'm breaking, and Phillip's going to have that quick release and sling it to me, and we're getting the first down.
Yeah.
So that's football-wise. Personality-wise, I love Antonio, man. He's always cutting it up, always laughing, a very likable guy.
Yeah.
A great locker room guy, like always playing cards, like playing the little basketball games, like chopping it up with young guys, old guys. Like it didn't matter if you were just got there as an undrafted rookie. He'd be like, hey, man, like shoot a couple foul shots on a little mini hoop. You know what I mean? Like, and his laugh is very infectious, like always wants to laugh, like crack a joke. Really a good team guy, great teammate. Like had a lot of dinners with him, hanging out, played a lot of cards on the planes with him. But
is he any good?
He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
He's got some of JP's money.
I used to claim he would cheat in spades. We played a lot of spades. And I'd be like, stop giving signals, man. Like, stop giving the signals. Like spades, if y'all know the spades, the partner game, and it's a notorious cheating game. With,
I
like,
stay out of
signals.
that whole thing. Because I look up there on the plane, and I've various times in my career seen guys gamble a lot of money away.
Oh,
playing
yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
I mean,
I try to stay out of the big, like the big one was Boo-Ray, which is like a version of spades. And I'm just like, that money gets crazy. I mean,
yeah, what's the craziest you saw the money getting? I mean, we're not going to put a name on the city.
I won't
or the franchise. We both played on,
yeah,
respectively, combined 10 franchises, I think. So, like 7 franchises. So don't assume that it's any of the places we played, but do you have a high number that you saw?
I had a flight back, a 3-hour flight back where a rookie lost like roughly $45K. And it was like, and a guy that he lost it to, which
don't get off the plane.
Yeah, which was funny because one of the guys, it's like an IOU game, which is so funny. It's like Dumb and Dumber, like IOU, and you've got these guys literally with these little napkins of like IOU, $10,000. Like,
so that's a car.
It's like stupid. It's exactly what he did. He rolled in. He was like, I think I'm gonna go buy me a car with my Boo-Ray money. I can't tell you how much money he won, but he was holding the big note on that $45K. And he was like, I'm just going to go buy a car and I'm going to drive. And he told him, like, drive it every day.
If you take $45,000 from me, you're going to get it, but I'm going to have to fight you.
Man.
I'm going to fight you because I'm so mad at you. And then I'm going to give you the money in principle because I lost it for being an idiot.
I couldn't sleep.
That's how I would
never. It would be awful.
That's ridiculous money anyways. But so, Phil, might be his last year, might not. What's your read on that?
I think he still wants to play. I mean, he's so competitive. He's such a competitive dude. And I think if he gets the right opportunity at the right situation, I mean, everybody keeps saying the Colts thing with Frank because Frank was out there as quarterback's coach and our OC. A lot of guys actually from that early San Diego team I was on coaching out there. But I mean, he likes Tennessee. He's kind of from that area.
I think Tannehill's got to go easy, man. I think my boy Ryan Tannehill's got that on lock.
They're looking pretty good right now.
So
it's just a lot of.
You think Indy's a possibility? You think maybe Tampa with Bruce Arians? He did the Carson Palmer thing, where he had a guy who was up there in years. Obviously, Carson wasn't as old as Phillip is right now. But I could see that. They got weapons down there. Defense is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. When you look at the outside of football, though, I mean, he's got like, oh my gosh, what is that, like a 13-person family now? I mean, he's got to uproot a lot of people. Yeah, it's like, I think he has to weigh that in. You get to these guys that have these family deals, you know, when they moved to L.A., I don't think he was a big fan of the move to L.A.
I know.
I think he wanted to stay in San Diego. He thought it was San Diego. And he wanted to be there. I think he might even have a place down in.
So we might be on
there.
And you know who's
So
down there?
First.
You know who's down there? The quarterback whisperer. He's been whispering to Jameis all fall. And Jameis doesn't want to throw the ball to his teammates. He wants to throw the ball to the other team. I think that if Phillips still got it physically in Bruce Arians' offense for 1 or 2 years would be a nice way to ride off in the sunset for him.
I mean, I would come out of retirement and go down to Tampa and play.
I
never actually said I would retire. I would
come out of retirement to go down there and play with you and Bo Allen.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
If Phillip Rivers goes to Tampa, let's go. Now, with Phil, we said he doesn't cuss, but he's wildly competitive. You told me a story about softball.
Oh, love it. We had our softball team was great. He wore like a mullet, like with the band, like the big mullet wig. And like not a good shortstop either. Like you want like a real mobile. Nobody here thinks that Phillip Rivers is a mobile quarterback,
but he did.
But he was our shortstop, man. He was our shortstop, and he could still sling it over there.
But he
man.
made sure.
Oh yeah, he could still get it over there. But it was like so competitive. I remember a softball game we literally lost in like a championship game or something, and I'm like, you know me, I'm so competitive. I'm fuming. Like I don't want to talk. Like I'm ready to like punch somebody.
But there's like families.
Yeah, it's like an old man, like an older gentleman's league, should I say? And we're in the parking lot, and me and him just sit in the parking lot for like 30 minutes, and just talking about like what went wrong with our softball play. And I'm like, I'm so mad. He's like, I'm mad. He's like, what do you want to do? We're gonna play basketball. Like, what do you want to do?
Let's go play another sport.
He's like,
can we go win at another sport?
What can we do right now? Because we're fuming because we lost the softball game.
But the funniest thing about the whole thing is that the elephant in the room was that he was a crappy shortstop and not athletic enough.
I didn't think that he was a good. No, it was a good fit, but you're the captain,
he made
man.
Sure.
Yeah, you're the captain.
Like,
you're playing.
I'm the shortstop.
Yeah, clearly.
I am good enough to be the shortstop.
That's it.
And I can do it.
That's it. It was a legit softball team, though. I have to say, we had Danny Woodhead out there in center field. Him and Eric Weddle, like, don't hit the ball in the air. Somebody's catching it, and we weren't bad. We struggled. Our
Weddle should have been the shortstop or second baseman. Easy.
Weddle played center. Him and Danny were like, you played with like 4 outfielders, played an extra player, so they were like our 2 center fielders, and they caught everything.
I know how to do.
And
softball.
and Weddle could crush. Weddle's one of the best all around athletes as far as like basketball, golf.
Yeah, I can see
like
that.
He can do like everything. Like he's one of the best
sports guy.
Pound for pound, just go out there. I can play it.
Yeah. Not me.
But our back lineup and that softball team hit a lot of pop-ups. Like, come on, guys.
Well,
can everybody be a home run hitter? You know what I mean? You got to know your role sometimes, know your personnel.
So it might be some big changes coming in L.A. I keep saying San Diego because we're toggling back. Now, I don't know that Phil retires, but we were just talking about a very shocking retirement in Luke Keuchly. In fact, we all learned about it as you walked in the building. What do you make of these guys leaving early with health concerns? And then somebody who, and we talk about this very openly before, the struggles that come with retirement or am I done? Or like, we both left the game this year. What do you think about the mental side of it, the fear of breaking your body, of staying too long?
I think it's per individual in each case. And each guy, I think the information is out there. And I think guys now are a whole lot smarter than I am.
Yeah.
Or
don't sell
like
yourself short.
Like they're really study. Like these concussions are serious.
Yeah.
I mean, the research is out there. They're pretty serious. Like these injuries. I mean, we all know players that have played and played too long.
Yeah.
I mean, I played with a lineman one time. I remember he retired. He had a bad year. And we were out having some drinks one night in the offseason. He was like, I should have retired. He goes, I played 1 year too long. He's like, I'm not going to be able to play with my son. Like, he had a bad hip. Like, he worked on this hip, and he just kept playing through it. And it's hard for me because I'm always been the guy that's like, I just love it. Like, I'll play until I can't play anymore.
Right.
Like, if somebody called me up. It's like, you want to come hit some people? I'm like, yeah. But I think people now are smarter. They understand their bodies. I think people understand that there's a whole lot more to life after football.
Right.
Which is something I was always just like, I just want to play. I want to hit. Like I never thought about busting the wedge. I was still a wedge buster when I first got in.
Which
and it's just like,
that was a thing.
And I used to kind of pride myself on it. Like looking back at it, it's like, Washington used to always run the 4-man wedge. They had like Selleck and Alexander. They used to like knock people unconscious.
Yeah.
Like there's a play where Sean Lee got knocked unconscious. And I used to was like, well, it's my job. And be like, dude,
Right.
go down there. I never was thinking about my head. I was thinking,
Right.
I need to blow this D tackle up, running full speed so we can make a play.
Right.
So to your point, I think guys are way more conscious than I was at 22. I was just trying to, whatever they told me to do, run through the wall, I would do. I think guys are like, listen, running through the wall is great until my head's done and I'm in my late 20s and I can't remember anything.
Right.
And we both have friends that we talk about who are like, dude, I forget stuff.
Yeah.
Like you're 20 years old and you like can't forget your kids at school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like, it's like sad to talk about,
also,
but it's like,
it's also something that you got to talk in terms of, we only know one thing, and that's like, I don't know how forgetful I'd be without football. I have ADD, dude. Like I have ADHD.
I think we all do.
So we can't ignore that factor. So when I forget that the shower's on and I go downstairs to cook eggs or something, that probably happens if I'm an executive at a local bank.
Yeah.
Like that's just the way I'm wired. So, but I think what makes it scary is our antennas are tuned to look for things that are signs of, all right, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
Or, maybe I got hit in the head too much, or.
And that's what you think about. Like for us, we think, well, there was a cause and effect.
Yes.
To it. Like, wow. Like
my wife forgets shit. My wife never got hit in stuff. I cussed.
You cussed one other time too. I let it slide though.
Really?
Yeah.
What did I say?
It was the A-double-S.
Yeah, but I was trying not to say the S word or the F word, so that's pretty good.
I mean, not saying the F word is good. I mean,
but I forgot to the point.
It's all good.
To the point.
You forgot.
There's two
ever
ways you
forget?
can
Happened to me. Ron White.
So what were we talking about? But I think there's that, and then there's also the existential crisis of leaving football, something you've been doing since you're a kid, and we both, on different levels, have probably struggled with it, quietly or out in the open.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and there's no easy way to just snap your fingers.
Yeah, it's not an easy transition.
No.
But, and like, some people say like the courage or the ability to walk away. I mean, Luke is like, he's one of the best linebackers playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you this like when we found out and I walked in, I'm like, I used to, like there's some defensive guys you watch on film that you enjoy watching. I'm like, this guy, his reads are so quick. It's like you can't ever do the same thing twice to him. Like you'll run one play and you might get him, or it happens, and as soon as he sees it, like the play is like just starting, and he's like, you know what, screw this, I'm shooting this A gap and I'm tackling you for a loss. And it's like those instincts, those abilities to see stuff
with the athleticism.
Oh yeah, I think he was just really good. But I remember the earlier podcast, the one where he got hit and he was emotional, which is a side effect, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
And I've seen a couple guys.
But I never want to assume that he could have been frustrated.
Yeah.
But I think it was.
But I've seen a couple guys get hit, and that's kind of a reaction, and that's just scary to see, and that's got to be scary for his family. Like your parent, like when you see that, when you see a guy go, and it's like when you see a boxer or somebody get knocked out. Exactly. It's like it's scary. You worry about your mental health for the longevity of it. I mean, I'm sure he's made unbelievable money there in 8 years, but 8 years, what is he, 28, I think I saw.
Yeah, it's early for a football player, especially of his caliber. And even like, listen, like I said, you got kids. Imagine you go back, you take one hit the wrong way, your kids are old enough to see you on the field twitching or like
you don't
your
want
legs sideways.
You don't want your kids to see that.
Or you get up crying from a concussion, like that's just like that stuff can scar people, and that's the reality of the game. And we love the game. I mean, when I walked away, and we talked about this a lot, like I was a little bit torn. I hated so much of pro football, but I still love Sunday.
Yep.
And I still know I could play still. I think we both feel that way about, respectively, we both think we can still play, but getting out of the game with your health and spending time with your kids, and you got kids, it is a great trade-off. I mean, I think summing up retirement for me, and it's weird, it's your first fall back in Charlottesville. First off, for you, from Bath County, Virginia, who hates electricity, he hates,
I don't like crowds.
He hates
I don't like crowds back there.
He hates TV.
Like, people bumping into you has always been like
he's a log cabin guy.
Oh, 100%. I always say the last frontier, like if my wife would be up for it, I could go live like that.
Well, Nikki is a saint who,
absolutely,
in her own right, was a tremendous athlete,
really good,
great soccer player, professional,
All-American here, yeah,
All-American at UVA. So we hit it out of the park. We have athletic,
no doubt.
So
no doubt.
Our kids might be athletic.
Oh yeah, and she puts up with me, which is
she
saint
does
in itself,
and
right
that's
there.
my point. Is like the twisting of your arm to move to a city of 50,000.
Oh yeah,
was like you'd have thought you were moving to I don't know, Shanghai.
Yeah, it's
from Bath County. But this is your first fall.
Yeah.
And I would sum it up like this. For me, at least, it's okay, man. Like, the highs aren't as high, but you don't have the lows.
Yeah.
It's just smooth. It's smooth. And if you can get used to living a smooth life, and we're conditioned to live in this highly, I don't know if there's a word, adrenalized or adrenaline, like your adrenaline is constantly working as a pro football player year round. You're never comfortable. You don't, even in the off season, it's a dark cloud is looming over you. Am I doing enough? What's it going to, the month before camp.
Always there. Good enough
you're
shape.
Used to being under stress. So it's almost like when they take the stress away from you, if you don't think of it the right way and identify and be self-aware with the fact why you're uncomfortable is that you're used to being stressed, it's okay to be relaxed and to be a little bit bored sometimes. I think that's what guys struggle with as much as anything.
I don't think you can handle that well. I don't think you do good with like boredom.
I don't do good with boredom.
I think
that's why I'm doing a podcast.
Yeah, I think you have to have.
Am
I right? I'm pretty good with that, right?
Reed's looking at me like, this dude's insane.
Gotta get going. I mean, he was at 4 a.m. and we're here doing a podcast. He's like grinding.
So, anyways, I just think that's retiring in a nutshell. And we can get into another time in depth on retirement. Before I let you go, you're a great football mind. You look at these coaches, you know a little bit about them, probably varying degrees. Give me one pro hire you really like. Stefanski got hired today. Judge last week. You had Rule come from Baylor. Is there somebody that jumps out at you?
I mean, I like what the Baylor guy is saying. Like, I've watched a lot of his stuff at a collegiate level, but I always hires. It's like, how are you gonna do with this team?
Yeah.
You come into Dallas and now you're a part of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And how is your offense going to work with this scheme, this guy? It's so cliche, but it's like every team has got its own little deals, own quarterback, run style, own DNA.
Right.
How much can NFL difference, I can draft my personality.
Right.
I can maybe draft more of my personality to fit in.
Yeah.
And it's just so different. You know this. The NFL, like, winning and losing is so tiny.
Yeah.
And some of those decisions the head guys have to make, like, and just be right.
There's
like
no 41. There's no
41
41-7 games. I mean, there's a few,
but it's like that 4th and inches that you went for or didn't go for, or this situation. Hey, I'm telling my OC, hey, you got 2 downs to get it now, or hey, we're not punting here on the fringe. We're either going to get it or not. Those little decisions in a game can be huge. Between you're seeing like a 9-7 team getting in, or an 8-8 team. You know what I mean? Like a team squeaking in, or you're being, you're at the bottom end of it.
Yeah.
Now you're 7-9 and you have no chance getting in.
And to your point, when he's at Baylor, he can 1 week he can play a cupcake, and when you're at any college, you get a week off. The stress.
And that was just the guy that I was watching today. I think I was watching some talk he had, and I was like, man, he's saying all the right stuff.
They all do.
It's just I compare to people that I've been with, and I think this. I have a high respect for Sean Payton. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the game. I really do.
In history.
And the way he breaks stuff down, the way he can, like, and the way he talks to players too. Every player is not treated equally, but every player is treated fairly.
Right.
Like, he knows he can jump my butt, and it's going to make me more productive.
Right.
Like, he knows you can be like, hey, I don't like it. Like, I don't love it. Like, a tick wider on this motion to get this slant a little open, or maybe we need to move. And the stories of him at 3 o'clock in the morning, like rolling in, and they do an hour or 2 hours on one play, and then he'll be like, "I don't love it. We're scrapping it." And then he's like, comes back, he's like, "I fixed it. I fixed it in my mind, and this is how we're going to do it."
I fixed it.
Yeah,
in my
I fixed
brain.
it, and then you run it on the game, and you have all this window dressing to throw a touchdown, but it's like that's what wins games.
Yeah.
And so like I really respect him, but he's proven. It's hard to. Like
It's
I said,
it's a crapshoot.
yeah,
It is a
like
crapshoot.
it's like so hard to say I like this hire. And the only reason I threw his, like I said, the only reason I threw his name out was watching some interviews he did.
You
And I was just like, all right.
you probably like the last thing I'll ask you, because you know Joe Brady, of course, the LSU cat.
Yeah.
That was formerly with the Saints, and you knew him from when he was young in the game. He is
Yeah.
young. He was 30 years old.
And that was like his first gig. He was basically like a intern assistant. But he spent a lot of time in that tight end room for 2 years. Like he was in our tight end room mostly breaking down film with us and stuff. But
So you know him. One, is he gonna work at the pro level calling plays? Two, was it him or was it Joe Burrow this year?
I mean, he had the guys. It's a lot easier when you have the pieces, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you really show a coach when you don't have the athletes and you're successful. That shows you're coaching. And there could be a little more pressure when you do have the athletes because you're supposed to succeed.
Yep.
So I think Joe did an unbelievable job in New Orleans of studying, understanding what Sean did, digesting it, taking notes, learning how to do that run game they do. But the pass game, the understanding space, I think he digested that, did it well, and then he went into like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the receivers, you got a guy that can throw any throw, big arm, can throw the home run, can throw the touch underneath. And when you have the athletes, and then you can put a system in, it's really good. It'll be interesting to see what he does when he's now in the front of that room.
Yeah.
Guys are looking at you.
And you're 30.
Yeah, and then he's never really had any failures either. It's all success. You're undefeated as like a pass game coordinator. What's when the stuff's going bad? How are you going to counter it? How are you going to? It's just a different game. Collegiately, it's different than NFL.
There's the resentment factor of, you got this job easy. The perception.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I hope he does well. Like I think he's smart.
Likable though.
Yeah, he's likable. He's smart enough to understand. Hey, I'm going to learn from these guys, and I'm going to. He implemented it. They won. I mean, you're undefeated right now going in. I hope he does well. It's at you're 30 years old though.
Yeah.
I mean, gonna have guys older than
They're
him
gonna be
and
checking your temperature.
Yeah, and you got to make sure, and that can be a pressure situation. I remember when I was in San Diego. I mean, we had a first time head coach, and it's like it takes a little bit to understand. You're standing in front of a room with some grown men, and you can't fake a message in the NFL. I think in the NFL you can't fake. Like you can't fake hype. People will call you out on it. They'll let you know. It's a very upfront deal, which is why another reason why I love the business. It's like, you like call people by their first names a lot.
Yeah.
Like it's like, hey, like we're in this together.
Yep.
We either win together, and if we lose, we're all getting fired. So let's work together. But hey, man, he's going to go there and figure out how they do it. See how they sling it around. He's going to get to see Sean twice a year
all
too.
I know is David Tepper is not messing around, and this guy here knows about as much football as any dude I know. I mean, because you play with a lot of great quarterbacks. You've played with some great coaches. So great insight. Anytime you want to come back to the studios,
man.
Come into the big city. I know you're in the outskirts now.
But traffic's out of here, so we're good.
Yeah. I kind of like this late night thing. I don't know if Cowboy Reed likes it.
Yeah, nice.
Thanks for stopping by, bud.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. So that was John Phillips, one of my favorite people. Again, roommate, teammate, 10-year NFL vet, really good player. Also, really bright football mind, and played with Tony Romo, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, played for Sean Payton, a bunch of really good coaches. A lot of coaches who are in the news right now, Jason Garrett. So it was really cool having my buddy in, and also really worldly guy. When you get past the camo pants, camo hoodie, camo bed sheets, all that stuff. He is the real deal, though. He's not a fraud outdoorsman. He's like a Cabela's mannequin, came to life and just went out in the woods and lived there intermittently. But he's very worldly, very bright guy. Also, I've been known to don camo before. It's not like I got nothing against that. I love to hang out in the woods, but I'm like this training wheels outside guy. This guy is like part wild animal. So if you like having John Phillips on, we'll have him back. Haven't checked with him on his schedule and availability, but I will promise that. Also, if you like any guests we've had, comment. I do read that from time to time, although it's not good for my self-esteem if they're shitty comments. So try to be nice. If you think of a guest that you'd like to see on here and you haven't seen before, let us know. I was gonna talk about the Rooney Rule, and I was gonna talk about Stefanski, but we're gonna put that in a totally different pod that we're gonna release later today. We're running long. JP was supposed to be like a 20-minute interview. You kidding me? College roommate. It's going to be an hour. So stay tuned for that one. It's going to drop later today. It's going to be all about, the Stefanski hire, but how, it plays into and relates to all the Rooney Rule chatter this past week. By the way, I think it's a good hire, but we have to address the elephant in the room, which is the lack of black coaches being hired as head coaches in the NFL. And there's a lot to talk about. So 15 minutes wasn't going to do it. Check it out later today. Also, look for us on Friday, Saturday morning, dropping another Green Light pod, another live watch this weekend with Macon and friends. Maybe Coach Wookie, maybe another surprise guest. We had, God, who do we have the first week? We had, Rob Ninkovich. Then we had Steven Jackson this past week. So we had Big Cat, surprise guest. So you never know who's going to pop up in these live watches. Check them out. Check out everything we got going on Chalk. Thanks for listening. And please, later today, I'm going to talk about the Rooney Rule for an hour. If you're going to open it, don't complain about me talking about race. Okay? Deal? If you're going to complain about me talking about race, just don't fucking open the video. I cussed. Sorry. I was supposed to not cuss for this whole pod. I'll probably cuss later in the second video. But check it out. Please listen. Hear me out. Anyways, take care. Check all our stuff out.